Wintertime is dark and lonely. Something happens during the winter that makes the world seem vast and desolate and claustrophobic at the same time. The short days and cold temperatures wreak havoc on our minds, and the unforgiving elements brutalize our bodies. People get lost. People get trapped. Sometimes people die, and they're not found for days, weeks, months, if ever. These are the most terrifying winter stories. Let's get spooky. Hey, spooky people, this is your best friend Kenny here. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you like and share this video. You know, Valentine's Day is coming up. So what you should do is you should write out a Valentine and put my video link on the Valentine and give it to your Valentine. That will guarantee you a successful Valentine's Day, whatever that means to you. On January 7th, 2024, Clayton McGeeney, David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson, three lifelong friends and avid Kansas City Chiefs fans, gathered at the home of a friend, Jordan Willis, to watch the Chiefs play the Los Angeles Chargers. 2 days later, their lifeless bodies were found in Willis's backyard, marking the beginning of a very strange mystery that continues to haunt their families. On the evening of January 9th, 2024, McGeeney's fiancée, April Mahoney, went to Willis's home searching for McGeeney, who had not returned after the football game. Unable to get a response at the door, she entered the house through the basement, looking out an upstairs window, and she made a chilling discovery. Harrington's frozen body, seated upright in a long chair in the backyard. She immediately contacted the police. When officers arrived, they found Willis at his home, dressed only in his underwear and holding a wine glass. In the backyard, they discovered not only Harrington's body, but also the frozen bodies of McGeeney and Johnson. Johnson was found in a sitting position in another lawn chair. The scene was deeply unsettling. A neighbor, Ashton Brady, captured the initial police response on video, showing Willis handcuffed on his front porch after being questioned by the officers. Willis was later uncuffed and allowed back inside the house. The three men who lost their lives that cold January night were more than just Chiefs fans. They were individuals with families, friends, and lives full of promise. Clayton McGeeney was a devoted father to his young daughter, Petra, and fiancée, April Mahoney, with whom he had shared 12 years of his life. He was remembered for his love of travel, motorcycles, and snowboarding, and for his dedication to his 20-year career installing flooring. David Harrington was described by his father and stepmother as a kind and caring person who enjoyed life and loved to laugh. He was an avid sports fan and loved cheering for both the Kansas City Chiefs and the Texas Longhorns. His family also recalled his helpful nature, sharing a story about how he once rescued an elderly man and his dog from a burning truck. Ricky Johnson was a beloved son and brother whose loss deeply affected his family. Driven by their grief and their desire for answers, his family hired a private investigator to investigate the circumstances surrounding his death. Kansas City police initially classified the deaths as suspicious, but found no evidence of foul play at the scene. However, preliminary toxicology reports revealed a deadly mix of cocaine, fentanyl, and marijuana in the men's systems. The medical examiner concluded their probe on January 31st, 2024. Despite this, the families were not informed of an official cause of death for nearly 6 months, adding to their frustration and grief. The autopsy reports remain under seal, limiting the information available to the public. While authorities have maintained that their deaths are not being investigated as homicides, Harrington's mother, Jennifer Marquez, has expressed her wish for the person who provided the drugs to be held accountable. Willis's lawyer has also suggested that charges should be brought against the individual who supplied the drugs, potentially for felony murder. Despite the toxicology reports, numerous questions and conflicting accounts cloud the events of that night. A fifth person, whose identity has not been revealed, was present at the gathering but left before midnight. That's shady. This individual claims that the other 4 men were alive and well when he departed. However, Willis, the homeowner, has offered a different set of events. Willis, who is self-employed and works from home, claims that he escorted the 3 men to the door before returning to the couch and falling asleep. He maintains that he was unaware of their death until the police arrived 2 days later. This account is further complicated by reports that someone in the house was up until 2 a.m. on the Monday morning following the game. McGeeney's fiancée has also expressed disbelief at Willis's claim, stating that she was shocked to find him home when the police arrived. These conflicting accounts raise several questions. If Willis was asleep, who was up that late into the night? Why were the men's bodies found outside in freezing temperatures? Did Willis have any knowledge of the men's condition before the police arrived? And what role, if any, did the fifth person play in the events that night? The unusual circumstances surrounding the deaths have generated intense public scrutiny and online speculation. Willis, in particular, has faced accusations and suspicion despite his attorney's assertions that he had no involvement in his friend's death. A neighbor's video of Willis in handcuffs, although he was later uncuffed, has further fueled the public perception of his potential guilt. The pressure and scrutiny became so overwhelming that Willis moved out of his home within days, fearing retaliation. He subsequently checked himself into rehab, a decision that has been interpreted in various ways by the public and the media. And that's wrong. This is the type of event that absolutely should result in Willis making these very difficult changes to his life. And the fact that he checked into rehab is not indicative of his guilt in this situation, but rather indicative of him realizing that could have been him freezing to death outside. Very well could have been him. While some have condemned Willis, others have come to his defense. A friend of Willis emphasized the personal loss he suffered, stating that he lost 3 close friends and is struggling with the aftermath. And of course he is. Willis's father also defended his son, stating that he would never in a million years do anything to harm his friends. He pointed out that Willis had even purchased tickets for the group to attend the next Chiefs game together. However, there are some conflicting reports about how close Willis was to the other 3 victims, adding another layer of complexity to their relationship. The deaths of McGinney, Harrington, and Johnson sparked widespread discussion and tributes on social media. Online forums and platforms became spaces for sharing memories, expressing condolences, and speculating about the circumstances surrounding their deaths. Many expressed shock and disbelief, while others offered support and condolences to their grieving families. Online memorials and tribute pages were created to honor the victims and preserve their memory. As the investigation continues, the potential for legal ramifications loom over the case. While no criminal charges have been filed, the possibility remains open, particularly regarding the source of the drugs that contributed to the men's death. Willis's lawyer has acknowledged that he had been contacted by lawyers representing the victims' families who are threatening civil suits against his client. These potential legal battles could be a problematic situation that could irritate tensions in an already tense situation. Over a year after their death, the investigation remains ongoing, with no definitive answers or charges filed. The families of the victims continue to grapple with the loss of their loved ones and frustrating lack of closure. The case has attracted a lot of media attention, with many hoping for a resolution that will shed light on the events of that fateful night and bring justice to those who were lost. This case highlights the devastating impact of the opioid crisis and the devastation that is addiction. And it's a perfect example of a situation where if you are struggling with substance abuse or mental health issues, that you owe it to not only yourself, but the people who love you and care about you to seek help. And there are resources available to you, and you have the ability to reach out and utilize those resources, and you should. You don't need to suffer alone. You don't need to suffer with addiction or mental health alone. And you can avoid becoming, the next tragic story. On February 1st, 2011, a historic blizzard struck Chicago, Illinois, bringing the city to a standstill and leaving a lasting impact on its residents and emergency response protocols. This snowstorm was referred to as the Snowmageddon and dumped over 20 inches of snow on the city. It was accompanied with fierce winds, thunder, lightning, and even hail. The most disturbing part of the storm, however, was the stranding of hundreds of vehicles on Lakeshore Drive, a major roadway that hugs the city's scenic lakefront. I remember that day. I was in law school when this was happening, and I remember that the first thing they told you that morning, do not go on Lakeshore Drive. No matter what you do, do not go on Lakeshore Drive. And I didn't go on Lakeshore Drive. And the snow was crazy. It was lightning, it was thunder. My car, which was an SUV at the time, was actually snowed into my parking space at the apartment I was living in. It was one of the craziest snow events that I've ever seen. But what happened to the people on Lakeshore Drive was absolutely harrowing. Snowmageddon was not just a heavy snowfall. It was a confluence of meteorological factors that created a literal perfect storm. The snow was crazy. It was at 21.2 inches officially at O'Hare, making it the 3rd largest snowstorm in Chicago's history. The heavy snowfall lasted for about 40 hours. However, the intensity of the snowfall, combined with wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour, created whiteout conditions that severely limited visibility. The strong winds, caused significant drifting, with snow piling up in some areas up to 10 feet or more. The combination of heavy snow, high winds, and near zero visibility made driving extremely treacherous. Lakeshore Drive would be turned into a parking lot. As rush hour began on February 1st, Lakeshore Drive was initially moving. However, conditions deteriorated quickly as accidents began to occur. Between 7:15 and 7:45 p.m., 3 separate accidents took place, one involving a Chicago Transit Authority bus. Shortly after, 2 more accidents occurred just south of North Avenue. These accidents, combined with the rapidly accumulating snow and dwindling visibility, created a chain reaction. Cars and buses backed up, unable to move forward or backward. Off-ramps were impassable, trapping motorists on the highways. By 8 p.m., Lakeshore Drive was officially closed. However, for hundreds of drivers, it was already too late. They were stuck on the highway in their cars, and some were stranded for as long as 12 hours. City officials estimated that as many as 900 cars were caught in the traffic jam. However, an Associated Press photographer at the scene counted at least 1,500. Abandoned vehicles played a significant role. As conditions worsened, some drivers ran out of gas and they just left their cars in the middle of the road, further obstructing traffic flow and hindering snow removal efforts. And then they had to walk through the crazy storm and snow to try to find safety. Chicago's decision to keep Lakeshore Drive open during the initial stages of the storm, despite the deteriorating conditions, was problematic. Officials argued that closing the drive earlier would have diverted traffic onto already congested city streets, potentially causing further problems. The ultimate outcome on Lakeshore Drive highlighted the need for clearer protocols for closing the roadway in such severe weather. The people who were stranded on Lakeshore Drive during the blizzard had vastly different experiences. For some, it was a night of camaraderie and resilience. Strangers shared food, water, and blankets, finding warmth and support in the midst of the challenging situation. Others faced the ordeal of fear and frustration, watching the snow pile up around their vehicles, uncertain when help would arrive. Many drivers found themselves running out of gas, adding to the sense of helplessness. I think everybody in Chicago knows somebody who knows somebody that was, stranded on Lakeshore Drive. I know that I heard a story from someone who told me that not only were they stranded in Lakeshore Drive for 12 hours, but they couldn't leave their car and they ended up having to go to the bathroom on the seat of their car, which, you want to talk adding insult to injury, right? Snowmageddon put Chicago's emergency response capabilities to the test. Fire and police personnel worked tirelessly to reach those stranded on Lakeshore Drive, but the conditions made the task challenging. First responders had to navigate through snowdrifts, often reaching stranded motorists on foot or by snowmobile. The city also deployed garbage trucks equipped with plows to assist in clearing the snow. Despite these challenges, emergency personnel managed to evacuate many of those stranded, transporting them to safety and providing warmth and shelter. Warming buses were deployed, and hospitals treated those suffering from cold exposure. The city's 911 center played a crucial role, handling over 24,000 calls between February 1st and 2nd, including 750 calls from Lakeshore Drive. In the aftermath of the storm, the city successfully relocated and returned 496 cars to their owners within 48 hours. Yeah, there were all these cars that were stranded on Lakeshore Drive. People left them there. The city towed them to tow lots and got them back to their owners. And amazingly, the city didn't actually charge them for towing their vehicles, which has to be a first. The storm caused damage to more places other than Lakeshore Drive. The city's Department of Buildings reported that roofs off at least 2 buildings were blown off, including a section of Wrigley Field where the Chicago Cubs play. To keep the public informed, the city hosted 13 press conferences and issued 20 press releases. Social media platforms such as Facebook and Notify Chicago were utilized, with 20 updates posted on Facebook. The city, though, faced criticism for its handling of the event, particularly the delay in closing Lakeshore Drive and the perceived lack of clear communication with those stranded. The blizzard exposed vulnerabilities in the city's emergency preparedness and led to calls for improved protocols and communication strategies. 11 people died as a result of the storm. The event revealed the need for more targeted and timely communication with those directly affected by the storm, particularly those stranded on Lakeshore Drive. The incident also underscored the importance of providing clear instructions, updates on rescue efforts, and access to essential resources. The lessons learned from this event have led to improvements in the city's communication strategies and ensuring that residents are better informed and supported during further emergencies. Snowmageddon in 2011, with its 21.2 inches of snow, was the third largest snowstorm in Chicago's history. It drew comparisons to the historic blizzard of January 1967, which dumped 23 inches of snow on the city. However, the 2011 storm had more advanced notice and better communication and improved snow clearing techniques, as it should. The Snowmageddon blizzard also shared similarities with the January 1999 blizzard, which brought 21.6 inches of snow to Chicago. Ultimately, the lessons learned from Snowmageddon helped Chicago become a more resilient city. However, the people who underwent that horrifying night that they were forced to spend in their cars or away from their cars or trying to get away from their cars in the middle of the blizzard, those memories, I'm sure, linger. And 11 people lost their lives. 5 cross-country skiers found dead in the Swiss Alps. In March 2024, 5 cross-country skiers, including members of the same Swiss family, were found dead near Switzerland's famed Matterhorn after going missing. Another skier that was with the group remains missing and has not to this day been found. A relative of the skiers eluded police when the group did not arrive in Arola as expected before nightfall. The group of 6 skiers, 5 of whom were members of the same family, set out earlier that day on a route between the resort town of Zermatt at the foot of the Matterhorn and the village of Arola near the border with Italy. The route is a section of the Haute Route, a popular and challenging ski mountaineering tour in the Alps that attracts skiers from around the world. One of the skiers was able to speak by phone with a rescue squad before the phone battery died, paving the way for their location near the Whitehead Ridge at approximately 11,500 feet. That triggered an immediate mobilization of search teams. However, they were forced to turn around due to the weather conditions, which included avalanche risks, high wind, fog, and cold. A team consisting of 2 rescue workers, a doctor, and a mountain police officer were finally able to be dropped off by helicopter. There, the French rescuers discovered the bodies of 5 of the 6 missing skiers. Swiss prosecutors launched an investigation into the circumstance of the skiers' deaths. However, no charges have been filed. According to the rescuers, the skiers froze to death. They became disoriented in the storm and died of cold while trying to build a snow cave. Rescuers observed that skiers had attempted to build a snow cave to protect themselves from the elements. The temperature, including wind chill, was approximately negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 30 degrees Celsius. Hypothermia can set in quickly in such extreme conditions, causing the body to lose heat faster than it can produce it. As hypothermia progresses, it can lead to confusion, disorientation, and eventually loss of consciousness. The skiers were lightly dressed, which likely hastened the onset of hypothermia. This is also a symptom of hypothermia where your body starts to feel warmer than it actually is, and you start to take off clothing, and that makes your hypothermia worse. So people who die of hypothermia are frequently found having removed a significant amount of their winter gear. Also, their shovels were too small and light to quickly dig a snow cave. It's also believed that psychological factors such as fear and panic may have played a role in this tragedy. When faced with a survival situation, individuals may experience intense emotions that can cloud their judgment and decision-making abilities. This can lead to poor choices such as separating from the group or failing to take necessary precautions. 5 of the victims were part of the same family and have been identified as brothers Jean-Vincent Moi, David Moi, and Laurent Moi, their cousin Marc Moi, and their uncle Joel Moi. The 6th skier, who has never been found, is believed to be 28-year-old Emily Deschenaux, David Moi's girlfriend. Her backpack and skis were found next to the bodies of the rest of the group. There are questions about the experience level and preparedness of the skiers for the challenging conditions. The skiers are believed to have been training for a race before finding themselves in the difficult situation. They may have been ski mountaineering racers who had registered for a famous race. With the race approaching, they may have felt pressure to get their training in before the weather turned bad. However, some other reports suggest the skiers were grossly underprepared for the trip and underestimated the weather conditions. This obviously underscores the importance of proper planning and equipment for any type of extreme weather that you might face on your outdoor activities. Having the right gear, including, in this situation, extremely warm clothing, appropriate shovels, satellite phones, etc., could be the difference between life and death in these situations. Also making things difficult, the rescue efforts were hampered by the severe weather conditions. Rescuers faced very strong winds, heavy snow, and a high avalanche danger with zero visibility, not to mention extreme cold. These conditions forced the rescuers to turn back on several occasions. The challenging terrain and the need to ensure the safety of the rescue personnel complicated the operation. The skiers left Zermatt on Saturday morning in good weather, but forecasts warned of a serious storm by afternoon. Despite these warnings, the group proceeded with their trip, and the blizzard hit the group while they were on the White Peak, one of the highest sections of the route. Again, this is just a situation where you should not be tempting nature. If you're warned not to go someplace in the middle of a winter storm, whether it's Lakeshore Drive or a mountain range, or even just to be outside, you should not ignore those warnings because you are not going to win against nature. And it's sad that this tragedy and the other tragedies that we discussed earlier in this video occurred based on people's inability to appreciate the danger of extreme winter weather. Please make sure you're subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Please make sure that you like and share this video, as that will help me out in the algorithm. Make sure you are following me on Blue Sky and TikTok. TikTok is around for the time being, so follow me there. My username is AKBruise. Follow me on Twitter also. My username is AKBruise there as well. If there is a spooky or disturbing story you would like me to cover, please shoot me an email. My email address is thespookyLawyer@gmail.com. If you have any stories of other terrifying winter experiences that you've had, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate you watching my video. I appreciate your support. And please stay spooky.